Hola, muy buenas tardes. It's time to start. It's 7:20 something. I don't know exactly what time it is, but yeah, it's time for us to start working with today's lesson. I don't know who's online already, but let's see who's working with me today. It says that there are two people watching. I don't know who they are. I will ask you please to write your names down or say
But let's
hi.
see who's working with me.
I'm just checking audio and video and everything, and I think it's working correctly. Hello, Raquel. Hello, Coco. It's nice to see you're here. Aurea, hi. Well, I'm very excited to work with you today. It's always a pleasure for me to work with you. But yeah, I'm particularly happy today because we are learning more things about cognitive development, right? And these interesting things about how kids or how people learn and how they develop or how we develop different skills, like based on different theories and based on different ideas or, or or concepts about intelligence, right? um Hi, Jose Luis from Saltillo. It's nice to see you here. uh, but yeah, well, we are going to be working today with this thing of cognitive development, specifically studying this theory from Vygotsky, left Vygotsky, which I find really interesting and a little bit opposite to what we learned in the previous lessons, right? You remember we learned this theory about Piaget, that he proposed the stages and how kids learned and how they were developing different abilities through their maturity as they were growing up. So today we're going to see something different, which I think it's also interesting. And again, those two, like Piaget's and Vygotsky's, are theories. They're not laws or they're not something we say happens like that. Those are just some theories, like some proposals to explain how our intelligence is developed, right? We have to start learning those concepts and those words that are really appropriate, right? I won't say, or I wouldn't say that we learn to be intelligent or that we become intelligent at some point. It is like developing your intelligence, right? That's why they're called cognitive development theories. So it is about how you make your intelligence be developed at some point in your life. Okay, so I think we're just five people now. It's Raquel, Coco, Aurea, and I don't know who else from the school is online. But yeah, anyhow, whatever. We're If you join the class, just please write your name down so I know who you are, and I don't feel I'm talking like crazy person alone. Okay, well, I prepared this presentation. I made this presentation for you guys. You know, we're always working with those materials because I think it's useful and it's necessary, right? Because some of you are more visual and you like taking notes, so it helps you a lot with this technique for learning, right? Uh, like if you see something there, like written in written form, it's easier for you to take your notes. And yeah, we can keep it for later, like to check it later as many times as we want. So yeah, Vygotsky proposed this theory that is called sociocultural theory of cognitive development, and Vygotsky, yeah, he proposed this or he studied this because he didn't agree with some of the ideas we saw with Piaget. And well, I also want you guys to know that those theories about cognitive development and about learning, like cognitivism, etc., those theories are the basis for what we learned in the previous unit that was about teaching methods, right, and approaches. So all those ideas and important facts about how a person learns uh, are like what or yeah, they are the basis for the techniques and the methodologies and the methods and approaches we use to teach English. Okay, so I'm going to play a video and I want you to watch it, just take some notes, and I hope you enjoy it because it's really interesting. So just let me find where it is. I'm a little bit confused with what I am doing now, but I'm sorry. I'm going to try to organize my ideas and my brain. That's why I prefer like interacting with you, because when you are there, I don't get distracted so easily as I do when you are not like talking to me. I don't know why it happens, but yeah, I get so distracted when I am talking on my own that I don't know what I am doing. But I think it's this video. Yes, here it is. Okay, so watch the video and enjoy it because I think it's interesting. And take as many notes as you want, please.
Vygotsky's theory of social development argues that community and language play a central part in learning. While Jean Piaget concluded that children's cognitive development happens in stages, Vygotsky rejected his ideas and believed that children develop independently at specific stages as the result of social interactions. Vygotsky claimed that we are born with 4 elementary mental functions: attention, sensation, perception, and memory. It is our social and cultural environment that allows us to use these elementary skills to develop and finally gain higher mental functions. This development ideally happens in the zone of proximal development. First, there is what we can do on our own. Then there is the zone of proximal development, which represents what we can do with the help of an adult, a friend, technology, or what Vygotsky called the more knowledgeable other. Last, there is what's beyond our reach. To illustrate this, let us think of twins who were raised in a community in which boys are expected to learn and succeed, while girls are only expected to be pretty. At the age of 10 months, both have the ability to crawl and are in the zone of proximal development for learning how to stand on their feet. The more knowledgeable other, in this case the father, provides the boy with opportunities to practice in a playroom that he has equipped with scaffolding and other objects. The boy is encouraged to explore the equipment, and eventually he uses it to pull himself up. A few hours later, he's cruising along the structures, and a few days later, he's standing on his feet. The girl also has the potential to stand, but does not receive any support in learning the skill. When we compare the two, we see that while the girl is still trying to get up, the boy has moved into a new zone. He knows how to balance while standing, and now has the potential to learn how to walk. Both will eventually learn how to walk, but according to Vygotsky, the boy will be more skilled. The same principles apply to all learning and the development of higher cognitive functions, and only those learning with the assistance of a capable mentor can reach the full potential of their ability. Vygotsky therefore believed that inside the zone of proximal development, learning can precede development, which means that a child is able to learn skills that go beyond their natural maturity. He also established an explicit connection between speech and mental concepts, arguing that inner speech develops from external speech via a gradual process of internalization. This means that thought itself develops as a result of conversation. Therefore, younger children who don't finish this process can only think out loud. Once the process is complete, inner speech and spoken language become independent. Lev Vygotsky died of tuberculosis in 1934, at the age of 37. Despite his young age, he became one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century. He left the following advice for educators. By giving students practice in talking with others, we give them frames for thinking on their own. What do you think? Can a child learn anything regardless of any developmental prerequisites? And do we learn only through social and cultural contexts? And if so, do you think it is appropriate for a more knowledgeable other to determine what a child should learn next? Share your thoughts in the comments below.
All right, so this was like a very quick. It was like a very quick summary of what this theory is about. And I find it really interesting because it has like interesting and important points about language, which is our field. So I think it's really important for us because, yeah, we're English teachers, so we have to cope with all those things that have to do with speech, with learning a language, developing skills for mastering a language. So there's like some important things that I would like us to highlight. Hi Terry, welcome. For example, I'm really excited about knowing that intelligence has to do with skills, and it's a matter of development or developing different abilities. We have this bad concept about intelligence that it has to do more with how much you can keep in your brain, like how good you are at memorizing, how good you are at remembering concepts. Yes, and sometimes we fail as teachers when we test our students with this kind of intelligence we suppose they have to develop, right? But intelligence is not just knowledge, it's not just concepts. It has to do with higher cognitive functions, right? That have that, for example, could be reflection, making a comparison. I don't have exact like right now all the higher cognitive functions to list them, but I understand there are things like more complex things that students are able to perform more difficult tasks that are not just simply like remembering some concepts or matching. No, it goes further, like discussions, like reflections, like probably a debate, right? That it makes our students understand and reflect on what they learned. Something also interesting I would like to highlight is that there is a concept of internalization. That's what I heard, that it has to do more with an example of how something should be like. I don't know if I'm making my point clear, but I refer to a kid or a person being exposed to a new skill or a new ability. And then what you have to do is to see it so many times matters, right? For example, let's talk about learning how to play an instrument. We are not just able to play the instrument as like as as soon as you take the instrument in your hands, you are not able to play it. You need to go through there should be someone who's playing. It could be like online, still you need to see someone who knows process and this ability after being exposed several times same situation, right? And I also find interesting that according to Vygotsky, social and cultural environments are very important in regards of intelligence development. He thought that we are not able to be intelligent, or we cannot develop our intelligence until we are exposed to social and cultural scenarios in which we learned and we have this demonstration of how things should be done or how they are done, right? For example, with English, it happened to me, and I think I've told you a lot of times before. Structures, I knew a lot of things about how to make a sentence, the subject, the verb, and I still know all those things that are really interesting, by the way. But still, I was not able to speak English at some point, and it was because I didn't have that culture with more not knowledge. There were not more advanced people than me who helped me use this knowledge I had. So I just learned, or I think I know, but yeah, I learned when I was able to go to another country. When I was, for example, in London, I realized how good I was or how bad I was to a skill, and I was just able to speak until I was exposed to a more advanced person in the use of the language. Raquel, I think it's your internet and mine too. I don't know. Can all of you watch? Creo que se trabó un poquito. So it was mine. I'm sorry. I hope this thing works good. Please, Gride, if you are not listening to me, let me know so I can stop talking and I don't forget my ideas. Yeah, I know, Terry. Okay, let's see if it works now. I just All right. Well, I think now it's working. I think it's working now. Just let me know if you can listen to me and if you can see the image. Yeah, that gets me so frustrated. But yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so you can listen to me now. Perfect. I hope this thing continues working because we really need to continue with this topic. Well, just now let me get ready with the presentation because I think it's not working now. If it's not one thing, it's another. That's why I told you that, well, this streamer is good. I like it. I like to work with it, and I'm getting used to it. But the problem is that it makes my computer slow, and then I have a lot of problems when we use it. But yeah, let's see if it works now. Hopefully, it works. Okay, here we go again. Let's see what happens. So I don't remember what I was telling you exactly, but let me close some windows. I'm going to close that one. I'm closing this one too. This one too. Oh no, this thing's driving me crazy. All right, so I was telling you about Lev Vygotsky, that he was a Russian psychologist, and he developed this theory of cognitive development, as I told you at the beginning. And this theory is also known as the sociocultural theory, and you will see why it is called like that, of cognitive development. And well, it was established in the early 20th century. So Vygotsky had this theory, and he believed that community and language, which are two important concepts we've been working with during the last months, he believed those two things were important in learning, right? They were like a central part of learning, or of the learning process, all right? And Vygotsky also believed that social learning comes before cognitive development. So first, you need to be exposed to a place with people with the theory and culture and knowledge that you need to be intelligent within that society in order to develop your intelligence, your brain. And then you can adapt to other circumstances and you can adapt to other environments, right? So he also believed that children construct their knowledge actively. They were participating, they were part of it, and they were not just receiving, but they were actually part of this process. They were choosing what to learn, what was interesting to them at some point, because you will see later on some constraints. I think that's the word, Terry, I forgot yesterday. Does constraint mean limitante? I think it does. That was the word I was looking for. Okay, and well, there are some important concepts that we have to know about this theory, and one of them is the zone of proximal development. As you can see here, we have a drawing. I think it's really interesting and it's like very clear, because Vygotsky believed that there were like three, not stages, but three different areas that a person can be in when learning something. For example, the safest zone or the best place to stay is in this comfort zone in which you can do something by yourself, right? It means if you're able to speak Spanish, then you can do it on your own without any help by yourself. So you stay there comfortably because you're able to do it. You have had all the experience, you have had all the instruction, and you're able to do it. So you are like in the center, in the comfort zone. But then there is this area, the pink one, that it's called zone of proximal development, that refers to the place or the area, I'm sorry, in which you are able to do something with some help, right? You need the more knowledgeable one or the expert to help you, to support you, to tell you if you are doing well or bad. Yeah, so that is called the zone of proximal development. And then there is another area that it's like further from the shore, let's say like that. It's like deep oceans in which you are not expert and you don't have the slightest idea of how to do something, right? The like for example, something you can't do. Let's say you cannot speak German and it's a language you don't know anything about. For example, I don't even know the personal pronouns in German. So that would be a zone very far from my comfort zone. That's something I'm not able to do, and I lack all the knowledge about that. So I'm not able to work on that, and I don't feel comfortable, and I feel frustrated, and I wouldn't even dare to speak German because I don't know a simple word. Okay, so according to Vygotsky, children who are in this zone, in the zone of proximal development, they are. mm Wait, let me just remember what I was going to say. Yes, they are able to perform a task, almost able to perform it completely independently, right? Complete in Yeah, independently, but they are not there yet. They need more help. They need more instruction. They need more example in order for them to do it successfully. So that's where most of our students are if you take it into a classroom, right? They know how to say some stuff, but they're always asking you for words. Like, how do you say this? How would you say that? Like, they're always needing that help from you. That's why they are in the zone of proximal development. In this zone, they are at danger because you can give them bad instruction and you can help them correctly. I don't know if I'm making my point clear, but whether you teach them correctly and they keep it forever and they do it they themselves, or you teach them incorrectly, like a word, you mispronounce a word, or you tell them about structure, I don't know, something that they shouldn't use, but then at the end they use it. So this zone is dangerous, and your students are like very vulnerable because they whether they can feel frustrated or they feel successful. Let's continue with the next one. Is the audio working all right? Are you listening to me like without any problems? Can you see the image and everything? The presentation is slow. I'm sorry about that, but yeah. All right. So the zone of proximal development, which is also known as ZPD, this concept, it's very important to this theory because it involves so many things and concepts and beliefs of Vygotsky in just one concept, right? For example, it's in this zone of proximal development we have important important actors involved. For example, we have the more knowledgeable one, which is the expert, and we have the learner, right? And instructions, which is another concept that could be examples, that could be the use of the language, that could be the instruction itself, learning something. And it's important to develop your intelligence, right? They gave us the example of a guy learning how to ride the bicycle. Let's say that you know how to ride the tricycle on your, like by yourself, and then you are in your comfort zone. You do it on your own. You don't need any help because you are expert now. When you're trying to change from the tricycle to the bicycle, then you need someone to help you keep balance, someone who tells you how to do all the different things you need to do to be able to ride a bike. So the person who's helping you is the more knowledgeable one. And well, yeah, that's an important concept that you will see later on in the presentation. This theory also says that as children are given instructions or show how to perform certain tasks, they can organize all this information they have received and they can make it part of their existing mental schemas or schemas. Yes? Let's say that they have an idea of how to ride the tricycle. So they know it how to do something similar to the task they're trying to perform. So, since they have knowledge already, they will integrate this new knowledge to be able to perform something more advanced, something more complicated. And that's what we know as a mental schema. And different things, schema, I don't know how to say the word. But yeah, we have different of those mental schemas, and then we just integrate new knowledge into them, right? We grow them, we make them bigger, we make them more more complete, right? So this information that is provided by the more knowledgeable one, they guide the students or guide the people to perform the new tasks, right? And eventually the idea is that they can perform them independently, right? As we do it with our students, and that happens in our classes. I don't know if you remember, for example, that we have this pattern of TTT in which like the teacher always starts talking at the beginning of the class, and there's a lot of talking from the teacher because he needs to exemplify. Then there is this controlled talking time from the students supported by the teachers, and then at the end the idea is that the students can use the language independently. So that's how this thing works, right? ¿Sí se escuchan, eh? All right, so the important concepts we have here are the more knowledgeable other or one, as I said it, in MKO. And this is like the person who knows more or the more skilled person in the task the kid is learning, is trying to learn. We refer to the no expert one as a kid or as a kid because most of the times are kids who are studied in these things. Well, I think now it's working. I'm sorry, my internet sucks. Please don't hire anything that is related to Telmex. Yeah, it's terrible. It's expensive and it never works. I promise I'm going to change it. I told you already, but I just needed to finish this week's assignments and things so I can now think of changing my internet service. So yeah, the more knowledgeable other shares this knowledge through collaborative and social interaction. Yes, social interaction that refers to collaborative and cooperative dialogues with someone who doesn't know so much as him or her, right? So again, but Vygotsky said that for in order for a less expert subject to learn, it was necessary to have this social interaction with someone who was more skilled or more intelligent, in other terms, right? So another important concept is scaffolding that refers to this temporary support that the less experimented or the less expert received, right, by the more knowledgeable other. And this scaffolding or this support, temporary support, allowed the kid or the less expert to perform a specific task in a specific moment, right? In order again for him or her to be able to perform it later independently, right? And every time that the internet like fails or it doesn't work correctly, I get nervous and I lose all concentration and I don't know what I am saying. But I'm sorry about this. I'm really, really sorry about that. But I hope this has been clear, and I hope you have learned a lot today, and I hope you can use this information and you can like really make the difference between Piaget and Vygotsky, right? This was just like a very brief presentation about Vygotsky's theory, because remember, I don't want us to be experts or to become experts in certain topics. We just need something like an overview for us to be able to answer the exam. That's all what we need. If you are interested about it, so please like send me a message and I can give you more information for you to become experts on Vygotsky and Piaget and cognitive development theories. All right. So I would like to listen to you, Terry. Of course I can. Just not let me look for it because I don't know. I didn't keep it. I'm sorry. I should keep all of them, right? But I would like to listen to you now. Please, if there's someone who wants to give us like a summary of all these, like yeah, like your ideas, your findings, like what's new for you, what you find interesting, what you knew. So it would be really cool to listen to you now. So please just tell me who wants to be part of the interactive session. I just can receive a couple of you because if yeah, if more of you are added into the streaming, it becomes slower, even slower. So yeah, just a couple of comments. I mean, I don't want you to summarize everything. Just tell me something nice. Well, I'm sending you right now the link to the video that we watched in the session, and I'm going to send you also another link for you to be part of the interactive session, which is this one right here. All right. So please join me, like two or three of you, just to tell me something like very quickly about what we learned. After this part of interactive session, I'm going to explain to you the next activity we're going to do for next week because we're changing a little bit the topic, right? We are going to start working with the different skills and advice to teach like English through listening, speaking, writing, reading, and all those things, right? So I'm waiting for you guys to join me. Imelda, click on the link so you can tell us more about that. Because Imelda now saying that she uses social and cultural things in order to learn. That sounds interesting. Well, it's really linked to language learning Yeah, because we have also discussed that we cannot like put apart language and culture, because the two of them, or the two concepts, are linked, are like very very linked. So it's interesting, but I would like to know how you do it, like what kind of activities or what techniques do you use. Orea says that Piaget believes self-discovery is important and Vygotsky is done through MKO. Yes, exactly. And well, now that you mentioned this, Orea, it's important that I mention that there is again another constraint about this theory that some experts claim, because they say, according to Vygotsky's ideas, there is someone who's guiding and who's controlling what is being learned, and that is the MKO. The more knowledgeable other is the person who decides at some point what you need to know in order to be able to perform the task. But what happens with this individuality and with this different thing in our personalities, right? For example, my father was trying to help me or to teach me how to drive, but he thought I needed like the theory, and he was trying to explain, right? But I didn't need that. Me personally, I didn't need what he was giving to me. At the end, we fought and we argued, and yeah, he didn't help me. He didn't teach me at the end. There was another person who actually taught me how to drive, but it was because him, as the more knowledgeable other, he thought I needed something and it was not what I needed at the end. So that is not good sometimes, because our students could receive what they don't need and what they don't like, and then we have the idea that is being helpful for them, but it's not, right? So that's also important to mention. I found interesting the zone of proximal development. Can you tell us more? Yes. The zone of proximal development is just this like moment in which you are being supported, in which you can in which you can perform a task, you can be successful, but not by yourself. You need someone, you need the more knowledgeable other, you need this person who knows more and who can guide you. In this zone, I think it's like it's how we can describe our classes and how we can describe our students, and we need to diminish this time, or yeah, we have to diminish this time in which our students are in the zone of proximal development, because we need to make them independent. We need to make them like do things by themselves, not always being supported. That's why it's a critical moment in which you make some much good to your students if you help them being, if you help them become independent, or you can like damage them for life if you don't, if you get them used to have you all the times next to them, like helping them, giving them the words. Yeah, sometimes people believe teachers are rude when we say, when we tell our students like look for the word, try to remember how would you say that, because sometimes my students ask me like, teacher, how would you say me compró lo que no quería, and then I always answer back with another question, and I always tell them like, what would you say, how would you say that? I mean, there is a way in which I can say it, but probably is not the most correct one, or well, it works for me, but yeah, how do you think it could be said according to what you know or using what you know? So what I try to do always in this zone of proximal development is to make them understand how important it is for them to uh, to make use of the resources they have, like in their brain, like in themselves, right? Otherwise, you get them used to your help. So yeah, I think this is interesting too. I find really interesting the zone of proximal development. Do you remember that yesterday we were asking and we were reflecting on some kids becoming able to perform some tasks before others, and we were saying that probably it was not knowledge, or well, the other way around, that it was not a well, they didn't understand what they were doing, but they were able to do it because they were trained. They didn't develop the skill. So Vygotsky says about this that kids are able to perform tasks at different ages according to each person, right? So it's not about stages. Like if you are 7 years old now, you're able to do this or that. Vygotsky believes that there's no age or there's not a stage for you to be able to perform something. So that's also important to remember. And also, is scaffolding. You are in a process. Yes, scaffolding refers to that process. Vygotsky talks about a continuous and sociocultural development. Piaget divide the process in stages. Yes, that's what I just mentioned, right, Andrea? You are a psychologist, so you know more about this. But yeah, that was what I was trying to tell you. That Vygotsky, he talked about, like, if you are in touch with an expert, social and culturally, then you will become able to perform the action. And Piaget thought that you needed to wait until certain maturity, like physical and cognitive maturity, according to your age and physical things, in order for you to be able to do something, right? That's the big difference between those two. The zone of the real development. Rosalba, your question is very difficult for me right now, but wait, because yeah, the zone of real development, I think it refers to the specific moment in which you are able to perform the things independently, right? Andrea, if you know more, I think I don't know that concept so much. I'm not like very familiar to it because I just know the zone of proximal development. The zone of real development, I'm not sure it really exists. Yes, I'm sorry. No, yeah, it does exist. The zone of real development is the place where you feel comfortable with what you know. It's when you are able to perform things on your own, when you are an expert now. So that's the comfort zone that I pointed out at the beginning of the session in the drawing, right? So that's specifically when you are expert and you can do things independently. So instead of calling it the zone of comfort, as I said it, you'd better say the zone of the real development, right? Sorry, I got a confusion with this. I got confused with this, but yeah, now I think it's clear. So it refers to this specific time in which you are able to do something like independently. You don't need any support. You don't need any help. All right. So more questions, more doubts, more comments. Rosalba, me debes una coca por haberme puesto en problemas. I'm just kidding. But you saw how I saved it? Like I was getting confused, but then at the end, my intelligence came back and then I could answer the question. It was exciting. It was one of the most exciting moments in this day. A diet coke again, or what? Or you mean I should be on a diet? All right. So no more questions, comments, or anything. You'd better ask me more questions because you ignored me and you rejected me and no one wanted to join my session. But it's okay. It's okay. A diet coke. Yes, you're right. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, then I would like to continue with the next part, which is about the task you have to do for this next week, right? We found that it is cool to work like in advance. You guys check the information, and then we can have like a more fluent class with more questions, with more comments, and I think it works better. So first of all, I would like you to reflect on the next questions. Your answers should be written, right? Write them down on the chat right here. how do you teach English? Like just in a sentence, write down some ideas. Question number two, what do you consider more important in an English class? Like in, yeah, generally, what do you consider more important? Like the teacher to be expert in the language, the teacher to be expert in teaching, both, or like like a small group or a big group? What do you consider is more important? Whatever it has to do with, right? And then another question is, what skill or sub skill is the most important one in your English classes when you're teaching? Which one do you consider as the most important? And the last question is, it good or appropriate to teach or develop isolated skills? It means, or I refer to teaching or developing your reading during a week, then speaking during one class. Do you think it's appropriate or is it good? Yes, no, and why? So start writing your answers down. I will give you a couple of minutes and then I'll be back, okay? All right, so I will start reading your answers. Terry says that to answer question number four, she thinks that we need to involve all the skills when teaching. Yes, I agree with you. We won't say that there is a wrong or a correct answer to this, but yeah, your idea is very similar to what I believe about teaching a language. Because if we want our students to be able to use something, specifically the language, so we need to make them understand how the complete cycle is, like how the actual use of the language works. So I think yes, we should teach using all of them or involve all of the skills. Imelda says I teach English depending in your. I don't understand this last part. Could you help me rewrite it? Question two, all of them are important, but language is about communicating. So I think speaking is the most important. Okay. Okay. And then I will ask you another question, Terry. Isn't writing a way of communicating also? Because, things have changed nowadays. And now we're living in a moment in which people cannot be face to face speaking due to health circumstances. But what about messages? What about WhatsApp? What about Messenger? Isn't it a way of communication? Aurea says, I try to plan a fun and creative class to design a lesson according to the student's needs. It's important as well as the knowledge of the topics. All of the skills are important. Yes, all of them are really important. They're definitely important. But I wouldn't like to divide them because all of them are part of the same thing. Let's say when you're speaking, you need to learn, you need to listen first for you to be able to produce. So there is like a connection between all of them, right? At some point. If some students need more support on a specific skill, we are there for him or for her. Yes, of course. You need to find different alternatives for them to learn in the different ways. I teach English depending of my class, the age, the profile. The most important is the communication. Okay, yes, we need to take those things into account, and communication is important. That's the objective. All right, good. The skills go together. Some yes, some all of them go together. Number one, active and interesting for kids. Yes. Three, can decide. All of them are important to develop the language. We agree. We completely agree to the in this point, right? Okay. Well, I would say that there's no. Well, let's go one by one. How do you teach English? I teach English as I can. So it depends, as you said, on the group. It depends on the objective because sometimes teaching English is not for communication. It could be for it could be for specific purposes, like to be able to use a machine, to be able to assemble something, or English can be taught also to answer an exam, like a TOEFL, a TOEIC, and your students are not going to develop any speaking skills, but they will be able to answer the exam, right? So it all depends on what the purpose of teaching English is. But I would say that I teach English based on my experience and based on the use of English in other countries. I try always to have my students calling, making phone calls, writing emails, like using the language actively in life-like situations. What do you consider more important in an English class? I consider the teacher's mastery of the language is important, and I consider the most important thing in an English class is the opportunity you give your students to communicate in a spoken or in a written form, right? But you need to make them communicate. What skill or sub skill is the most important? I wouldn't say that there's a more important skill than the others. That there's yes, there's not such a thing as the most important skill. All of them are important, and all of them are part of communication. Is it good or appropriate to teach or develop isolated skills? Yes, no, and why? I would say a partial yes, because sometimes our students are weaker in some skills than in others. So it is good to take time to make them reinforce that skill. Nevertheless, sometimes we get our students used to to listen under certain circumstances, right? We fake the situations, and they're very different from what happens in real life. So I think that is the bad part of teaching isolated skills because we don't let them use the communicative cycle completely, just a part, and that doesn't happen in real life. Okay, and there is something else. I notice I use different methods according to the topics, objectives, and the grade. Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. Okay, well, I wanted you to answer those questions because it's the first part to reflect about what we're going to do for next week. You guys are going to choose one of the skills or sub skills. It could be listening, speaking, reading, writing, grammar, vocabulary. Oh no, what I've done. No, I don't have technical difficulties. I'm back. Okay. So you will choose one of those skills, right? After you have chosen your skill or sub skill, you will record a 5 minutes long class, 5 minute long. Aquí se me pasó la S. Class in which you teach specifically that skill, right? So you need to teach a 5 minute long class in which you show how you teach that skill. Then you will upload the video on the Google Classroom. I will tell you where specifically, and then you have to wait for more instructions. This video have to be in the platform by Tuesday. All right. So I'm sorry if I'm like asking you to do it very quickly, but it's just 5 minutes, so I don't think it will be difficult for you. And yes, you're teachers, so you know how to do that. And okay, so that's all what you have to do for this weekend. Then on Tuesday, I want to see your videos, and then I will tell you what we're going to do next. All right. So I think there is nothing else I have to tell you. I hope you have enjoyed the class as much as I did, and I hope you have learned a lot, and I hope everything has worked out correctly. I would like to receive your feedback. It's always important for me. Tell me how I can improve, like in all terms. Like tell me your English is not understandable, or we need you to speak more fluently. I don't know. Tell me anything that could help me improve. I really need it, and I really appreciate it. Right. So write any comments if you don't want to do it publicly, so you can send me a message. And yeah, it makes me happy when people give me feedback about what I've done. It helps me improve, and that's what I want, right? I really know that there's so much I can do to improve, but it's good to listen to those things coming from you. So if there are questions about the activities you have to do, don't hesitate. Send me a message, call me, or whatever you need to understand the instructions. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to open the space on the Google Classroom, and you can ask there too. All right. So thank you very much, and I hope I can see you next week. And yeah, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. Yes, Imelda, the assignment or your class has to be on the platform by Tuesday. Right? It has to be there by Tuesday, and then our class will be on Thursday and Friday again next week. All right? Thank you, Terry. Goodbye, Kathy. Thank you for all those comments. Coco, goodbye. Aurea, goodbye. Goodbye, everyone. Raquel, goodbye. It was a pleasure to be with you today. And goodbye.